I want these kids to just know that, hey, I did something that I never thought I could do. I caught that wave. I faced the ocean. I fell. I got back up. And then I think can carry that forward into their adult lives. You should be better humans.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the First Light Surf Club Spotlight Sessions. My name is John, and today I'm here with Mario, Navy veteran, Indigenous Mayan outdoor enthusiast, and the co-founder and executive director of Unmar de Clores. Their mission as a nonprofit is to inspire and cultivate diversity, inclusivity, and ocean stewardship through surf therapy, outdoor education, and mentorship to underserved youth and kids of color. So, Mario, thanks for coming. Stoked to have you here. If you could just start us off and just maybe share with us a little bit about your background, I think that would be a good place to start.
Absolutely. So I feel like that was the best intro I've ever had. So I am an Indigenous Mayan. My family's from Yucatan, Mexico, and they immigrated here. I was born and raised in Thousand Oaks, California, which is a small little suburb in Ventura County. And then I served 5 years in the Navy as a medic and got stationed on Camp Pendleton, fell in love with surfing, fell in love with the area. And I've just been here since 2012. So that's 10 years now, or 11, I guess. I'm all of a sudden the San Diegan.
Yeah. No, well, we're glad to have you here. What was it like learning to surf later on in life as an adult?
Yeah, it was a trip because I didn't really have that connection with the ocean growing up, despite like kind of living near Malibu and things like that. I just was always playing sports and didn't really get that call of the water until I was about 22-ish or whatever, when I was down here. And it took a friend to invite me in and be like super persistent. Like my best friend Ryder at the time was like, let's go surfing. Like, I got a board for you. I got a wetsuit. So like, he would take me out here to Oceanside and I'd just get like worked, dude, like whomped, and just like go out for 20 minutes at a time. And then he'd keep surfing. I'd sit on the beach and just stare. But something like in me just didn't let me quit, kind of a thing. Like where every time I'd go, I'd like spend more time in the water, gradually like fell in love with it, gradually got more better at surfing, I'd say. And it just haven't looked back since. It really brought me community. It brought me connection to something bigger than myself, and it brought me calmness within myself. So I'd say it's my North Star days.
So growing up in Ventura, you're around the ocean. What was your perspective on surfing at that point? Did you think like it was something that you could be a part of, or something that you were interested in, or why?
It was pretty much off my radar. Yeah. I'd say culturally, growing up in a Mexican household, that it just wasn't something that we envisioned doing. I was always playing soccer, growing up in that realm, and then I wasn't super called to it, I'd say. Never ever pictured myself like out there, but I've always loved the water and always loved like any body of water, For being from Yucatan, it's a land of water. We have like cenotes all over the place, those big cavernous water sinkholes, and essentially all of Yucatan is connected through river channels underneath it. So my people have always just been strongly bonded to the water. So that calling was always there, but not through the vehicle of surfing, like dancing on waves. And I feel like it's just an adaptation of like who I've become as a human, like not necessarily Indigenous living in Yucatan, but here in Southern California, I've like found my own adaptation towards keeping that nativism alive within me. So I'd say a lot of Indigenous communities were really connected to nature. Yeah, we have it in our worship songs, in our culture, and I feel like nowadays that you have to actively go and search to connect with the water, or to like connect with nature. And I do feel like we need to like reintegrate that to be like a way more natural part of the day. Yeah. I think a lot of what you're kind of talking about with First Light Club, with like getting after it in the morning, even though you have work, is so important. It's like almost like, it's like, how do you wake up and worship? How do you wake up and like have this daily ritual of, I don't know, I guess praising something bigger than yourself? And that could be surfing sometimes.
Tell me a little bit about the the origination of Un Mar de Colores, how did that thought process or idea kind of concept into your mind?
Yeah, so the idea of Un Mar de Colores came about in just like living in Encinitas, and I'd been living there for 5 years, and I was living in what is known as like the Latino part of town, which is like by El Nopalito and the 7-Eleven there, and you always see like Mexican Americans or Latinx people like getting ready to go to work in the donuts, like getting in their construction cars or their landscaping cars, and they've been out for the day. And I'm in those neighborhoods where like people are actively getting ready in the morning. And then instead of getting ready for work, I'd go and get ready for my morning surf, right? So I'd be loading up my surfboard. Across the street, there was a little Guatemalan family, and the kids would always be out getting ready for school. And I'd see them, we'd wave, they'd wave, and they'd look over in curiosity. You know, as I'm like driving away toward the beach, and I was like thinking as I'd look back in my rearview mirror, like, why did I never see this family at the beach? You know, and that started like spawning that bigger question of, why does a family like that looks like me, that lives a mile away from Swami's, lives a mile away from Cardiff Reef, lives a mile away from San Diego State Beach, like why are they never there enjoying, recreating, connecting? So I didn't want that young family to go through that same process that I had to do, like wait till adulthood, wait till a best friend extends a hand and invites you in. I just wanted to be that mentor and that guide. So from that, like kind of really sparked the idea of Un Mar de Colores. And then really from there, like everyone else, just breathed life into it to develop it to where it's at right now.
Yeah, what was that process like? Because I feel like a lot of people have these ideas and passions, but actually going forward and taking that first step and executing it is a lot. So what did that look like for you?
There's just like absolute certainty when you have an idea that you're passionate about, that you don't really look left or right or behind. You're kind of just, you know that this is the right thing to do and this is the right time for you to do it. And that was really like an unwavering force with the path for Mar de Colores, that I've never like had to second guess myself on the right path. Like the road is just unfolded in front of me. Yeah. So the momentum just naturally just keeps moving. And that's when I know that I'm doing something worthwhile, is because I feel like in that space of nonprofit work, like when it can be a bit of a grind, but luckily that there's been so much people that see the good that we're doing, that the road just keeps unwinding before us.
Yeah. Had you had any experience starting anything like this? Or like, how did you even learn to what steps you needed to take to form an organization?
And I'm building the plane as it's flying.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. Yeah, definitely like never envisioned myself as like a nonprofit leader, as a nonprofit like founder, or you know, a lot of it just overlaps with like business and like marketing and fundraising, and outside from like actually doing the work, actually doing the programming. And it's been really fun and exciting. Like I can get really lost in it. Like I sit back and it's like my blank canvas, and there's just so many layers of Mar de Colores. Like we have our youth programming, right, which is our environmental education, our surf therapy lessons for the kids, and our mentorship. But besides that, we have a lot of community initiatives, like our Representation Matters initiative, which is this media media program that essentially supports Black, Indigenous, people of color, surfers or artists who want to create more representation in surf media, which I'm really passionate about. And then we have our daily like family community building. So we'll do like surf film screenings with that primarily focus on BIPOC surfers, so that there's just that community bonding element. So yeah, I think with all that in mind, like I'm really thankful that it all feels, I guess, all together, even though it's all over the place. Like I guess when you look at it through an intersectional lens, like it all makes sense.
Yeah, I think something that really inspires me in seeing you in this position is it is unfolding naturally, because it's something that you're so passionate about and have experienced and have like firsthand perspective on. So I think, I don't know, that's just really encouraging to see you chasing this, and it's something that's so natural for you.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. Yeah. It feels good.
So how do you go about getting kids into your program?
We do super grassroots recruiting. So I've actually gone to local elementary schools like Paul-Eckie, where everyone goes to the farmers market on Sunday in Leucadia. I've gone to Paul-Eckie Elementary School, been invited by a teacher there, Miss Sylvia Pelosi, who actually is Mexican-American, grew up in Encinitas, but essentially a super grassroots approach because she invites me in. I speak to the Latinx PTA meetings, the Parent-Teacher Association meetings. So I'm there making the pitch to the families like, hey, I'm this long-haired dude who like wants to take your kids out in the water. I'm like, no te preocupes, no tengas miedo. Like, I'll take care of the kids. Like, I explain to them the process, right? And some of them are like, absolutely. Like, some of the moms are like, I want my daughter in this program. And then some of them were like, what's going on? I'm like, I think I want this. And it takes a lot of like just being, I think that's really important is when you're trying to serve a community, you really need like advocates from that community to help guide that communication style because it's going to be different. Like I don't try to insert myself onto like the reservation out here in like San Diego and like think that I know those dynamics, right? So, but I do know like predominantly like Latinx dynamics, so I feel confident in doing those like grassroots recruitment stations. But the kids essentially have come from local elementary schools, and then aside from that, like word of mouth from like the moms kind of spreading the news. But the students are from Encinitas, Oceanside, Vista, Escondido, and San Marcos. So predominantly North County.
What time frame, I guess, has it been? When did you first launch your first initiative?
Yeah, so Mar de Colores has been around for 3 years. Okay. So we started in 2020. Yeah. And actually COVID kind of shaped our programming because at the time, we really couldn't do mass gatherings. So this was never going to be like 100-person, like get all the kids out in the wave, right? It was always going to be small, intimate, and focused. And it was 15 students at a time with 10 volunteers. And that kind of just shaped the model of our programming, like starting small, going deep with these kids and working with them for 2 years so that they actually learn how to surf. They actually learn surf etiquette. They get their own boards. They're like essentially set up to go and enjoy the ocean without us, which is really important when we talk about empowerment of marginalized communities. And I think I feel like the most resistance you get when you hear about people learning to surf from older surfers is that there's no surf etiquette being taught, right? Yeah. And that's why we make a strong emphasis to teach these kids surf etiquette.
Yeah. How have you seen the kids transform over that time frame being in your program?
Yeah, there's definitely a huge difference from day one to day what is that with double 365. there's definitely a huge difference from day one to the last day of our second year.
Yeah.
And with the students' confidence level. Yeah. So you'll see for day one, they're coming in, they're shy, they don't know each other, they're afraid of the water. They go in, belly board for a second, get out, start playing in the sand. But then from the last day of our 2-year program, right, they're grabbing their own board. They're already suited up. They want to paddle out themselves. We're like, no, you still need us. They're like this tall, right? And then we like push them into the wave. They want to surf the entire time. Even when we're on land, they're in the water. So that confidence level is huge. They're enjoying the beach. They're enjoying the water. They're not afraid. And I think that's one of the biggest like things that we're proud of as an organization is just creating that sense of self-confidence, which is so important when you're an adult, right? Those things are just like crucial. Like I feel like the majority of humans suffer from a lack of like self-love and self-confidence, like in from day to day like interactions. And I feel like so much stems from just like a lack of love or like self-worth. And I want these kids to just know that, hey, I did something that I never thought I could do. I caught that wave. I faced the ocean. I fell. I got back up. And then I think can carry that forward into their adult lives. You should be better humans.
Yeah. So what's the age range that you're primarily working with?
6 to 12. So all elementary school kids.
The kids' lives are changing. How have you seen the change in the kids' lives affect the parents or their friends or even like the community that they're in at the school and like at large?
Yeah, so I'm really proud of the intersectional work that we do by really systemically addressing the problem of these barriers that exist for these families to enjoy the ocean. And that's essentially like reshifting culture.
Yeah.
So we involve their parents in everything that we do. We really do. And we have a strong group of parents that really want to get involved. So a lot of the Unmar mamas, like they cook the lunch, they lead the grounding circles, they essentially like make sure the kids are there on time. They're the ones that force their kids to sign up, because the kids weren't signing up. It was the moms are like, I want my kid to experience something that I could never teach them, And they're just critical in the programming, and they really are what makes Un Mar de Colores a familia. Like since day one, we've called it the Un Mar Familia. And the mothers and the parents, I should say, of Un Mar de Colores are just like crucial in our programming. They're always involved, and from day one, they've just like shown up and really encouraged their kids to get in the water, really trusted us with the safekeeping of their kids in a dynamic environment, which has been like really critical, and really thankful for them.
Do you see any Unmar mamas getting in the water and trying their hand at surfing?
Dude, yeah, actually, yeah. So for the past 2 sessions, 2 of the moms have gone surfing.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's epic. And then, so we have one mom, Bianca, and her daughter Myra, who've gone out, and then another one, Elizabeth. And my Bianca actually let me know that she's one of the Un Mar de Colores mom, that she paddled out with her daughter, like aside from like our programming.
Yeah.
Which is huge, right? Which is so important when you're talking about like creating systemic change and actually like what you're doing and your programming carrying out into these communities, and like actually changing the narrative for this family and like the future of the family, like so important. But that's all of them. Like we just kind of like set the stage, and they're the ones that grab the board and take it out, So it's really beautiful to see.
That's so cool. So the kids are learning a lot, the parents are learning a lot. How do you think this process what do you think the kids have taught you in return?
Yeah, no, the kids always teach me a lot. Like, it's funny because it's our 3rd year, and as we're getting into our 3rd year, this is the first time we've expanded. Like, I have an amazing team of staff, Ramon, Yvette, and Pina, and they're all just kicking ass and like really taking Un Mar de Colores to the next level. And I talked to myself before the summer, and I was like, I'm going to sit back a little bit more during these camps and kind of just like let them run it. And like, I kind of want to, wean away and then start focusing on bigger picture. And then there I am, like day one, and this little tyke called Amigo, like didn't want to go surf. And me and her played on the beach while everyone else was trying to surf. And then I was having the best time just picking up rocks, playing in the sand. And she's like, okay, I think I'm ready to surf. Like an hour after that. Yeah. And I was like, really? Let's go surfing, And like, so then I'm throwing on my suit as fast as I can, and we get her in the water, and she has a great time, and she surfed just about every other time since. Awesome. But all of a sudden I found myself in the weeds of it again, right? And that was kind of like a aha moment. Like, don't ever think that you're going to be like above the work that you like set off initially to do, right? As like a leader, like you always kind of like try to start to pull yourself away, which is really important to see bigger picture. But then like, this is the meat and the mission of your work. You need to like be in it and be living it. And the kids have really pulled me back into it, and there's a strong connection with it, and it keeps me super guided, right? When I'm like kind of envisioning my programming through their eyes. I think that's what's really helped shape Mar de Colores, is I'm always wondering like, how can we best make this experience best for the students? And how does our programming look for the students, feel for the students? Are they learning? Are they having a good time? And I mean, everything that comes to mind is like from some of the inspirations that I have, like Pablo Picasso, who tells you it takes a long time to become young. I feel like you just kind of like always, like when you're on the beach with the kids, you see how much they're enjoying and having fun, and you're like, yeah, like it's so funny that you like go from being young, trying to be an adult, and then once you become an adult, you're like, actually, I just want to be like whatever I want to be. I want to be goofy. I want to be fun. I want to ride waves all the time. And like, so it really does take a long time to like decondition yourself from like what everyone's trying to tell you to be, and just be whatever and be goofy, relentless, fun, just enjoy yourself and love yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like just playing in shore break or on the sand, it's hard to like take yourself too seriously because you're like jumping over waves and like, I don't know, feel like a kid in the sand. It's kind of I don't know, the ground's kind of level for everyone at the beach, which I think is cool.
Yeah, it's contagious. Their energy, their vibe, their joy, their smiles. Like even on some days where I've come out like super tired and I'm like, okay, here we are. Where are we? Oh yeah, we're doing our camp. And then I'm like, woo, like I'm not really feeling the woo, but I'm like cheering them on. And then by the end of it, I'm like, whoa, just because I've seen the stoke on their face, It really is like an infectious energy that kids bring around you, and it's really important to have that intergenerational relationships, whether it be with older adults and grandparents, or whether it be younger kids. You really just gotta always expose yourself to those demographics there in order to really feel what life is like.
What's that mentorship process like for the people that are involved on your team?
Yeah, so the volunteers, essentially the ones who want to dive deeper, stick with us through the fall, and then in the winter they become mentors. And what that looks like is essentially we start off with these big familia group sessions, right? And those natural bonds happen where this volunteer has connected with this student, and they love surfing together all the time. So then essentially in the winter they can go have a one-on-one session where they can really just drop in with each other, and then that's where these bonds form that last a lifetime, where the relationship from volunteer and student becomes one more of mentor and mentee, and it just as all of us have gone through who are surfers, you don't really surf in that, or learn to surf in that big of a group. There's only a certain level it could take you to, but you really progress when it's one-on-one sessions, with a friend. So that's essentially what we're trying to foster with the mentorship and program.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what are some of your goals, or where do you think you want to take Unmar de Clores in the future?
Yeah, looking ahead at the future, essentially we only have one chapter right now, and we're based out of Encinitas, and I want to expand. That's always been the low-hanging fruit. I've always been focusing on dialing in the programming first, and now we're in that place where I feel confident in this whole 2 years outdoor education program for kids is in the right spot to carry forward into another spot. So then I want to go into South San Diego and serve predominantly Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, National City, but a lot of those communities. Then I want to open up a chapter in Baja and create this trans frontera, this trans border community of surfers and ocean stewards between southern San Diego, or San Diego in general, and Baja. There's already such a culture there, such a culture of surfers that already exists. A lot of San Diegan surfers drive down, go to Baja and surf, and I feel it'd just be a natural progression for our organization to kind of start creating this this international collective of ocean stewards.
So for someone watching this, how can they get involved or learn more about Unmar de Clores?
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram. We're Unmar de Colores. We've got this little blue logo. I think we're the only ones. And we got a website. We have all the volunteer opportunities there. And we have a lot of community happenings coming up. We have our next surf camp September 9th with the kids. And then we have a premiere of a big movie that we were working on in fall of this year. It's called Hado, and that's a part of our Representation Matters initiative. But it's based on a Japanese surfer, Kondai, who's obsessed with the sound of trees and wants to learn how to interpret them and then surf them. So it's just as much of an art film as it is a surf film. We're really stoked for that. It's coming out November of this year. So,
well, cool. I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and share a little bit about your story and your perspective. And as First Light Surf Club, I just wanted to give back in a way, and the details will be down in the description of this video podcast. But I want to donate some proceeds of our sales on our merch to Unmar de Clores. So
epic.
Yeah, as a way to I really appreciate what you're doing. And as we're trying to build community, I know we're not the only way to build community. There's other people that are doing it so well, and I really appreciate and admire what you're doing. So I want to do what I can and do what this community can to help
No, that's huge, dude. That goes a long way for our little grassroots efforts that we got going on. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's epic. That's
Well, cool. Well, thanks for listening, Mario. Thanks for the conversation, and hope you enjoy the Spotlight session. I'll see you out at First Light.